Gentlemen, today we are celebrating 54th Formation Day of Ernakulam branch of SIRC of ICAI. We have our chief guest, Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. J.B. Koshy. May I request our chairman to escort chief guest to the dais. May I also invite C.A. Jomonki George, past chairman and member SIRC of ICAI, and C.A. V.C. James, past Central Council member of ICAI, to the dais. Kindly rise for our motto. Thank you all. Now may I request our chairman, Sri Roy Varghese, to welcome the gathering.
Very respected Chief Guest, Honorable Chief Justice, Mr. J.B. Koshy sir, immediate past chairman and SIRC member, our future hope, C.A. Jomonki George sir, past Central Council member, C.A. V.C. James sir, illustrious past chairman of ICAI Ernakulam branch, physically present and virtually present, attending this meeting. Fellow colleagues, senior members, friends in profession, my colleagues in Managing Committee of Ernakulam branch, good evening to all of you. At the very outset, let me wish all of you a very happy branch formation day. Today, on December 1st, we are completing 53 glorious years of existence of our branch and celebrating the 54th formation day of our branch. I am the 46th chairman of this branch, which is celebrating its 54th formation day. 54 years ago, on this day, late C.A. Velupulli sir took charge as chairman along with the most respected C.A. Venugopal sir as the secretary and late Ramalinga Iyer sir as the treasurer. The beginning given by these stalwarts of profession gave strong foundation to the branch. Ever since the beginning in 1967, every chairman and committee members thereafter put in their best efforts to build the branch and keep up the flag of the branch flying high among all the branches of ICAI in India. The names of illustrious past chairmen like CA MC Joseph Sir, Venugopal C. Govind Sir, and CA Babu Abraham Kallivalil Sir are worth remembering at this juncture for their untiring and exemplary contributions for the growth and development of the branch. Today, we really miss the physical presence of MC Joseph Sir and Venugopal Sir due to their personal inconveniences. Respected colleagues and seniors, today, to make this day memorable, we have with us one of the well-known and acclaimed justices of Kerala High Court, the one who was the Chief Justice of Patna High Court and who adorned the post of the Human Rights Commission of Kerala, Hon'ble Justice Jacob Benjamin Koshy Sir. We are really fortunate to have his presence with us today on this glorious day. Sir, I don't know how to thank you for your virtual presence at a short notice. When I called him, he was very willingly consented to be the chief guest today and agreed to inaugurate this function. On behalf of ICAI Ernakulam branch, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir, JB Koshy sir, to this function. Immediate past chairman, and I request the treasurer, Deepa Varghese, to present him with a bouquet, floral bouquet, please. Immediate past chairman and member of SIRC, CA John K. George, is always there with us in all our activities. He is guiding and supporting us in every way. Though he is very busy with SIRC activities, whenever we are near, he is there to support us in our managing committee as well as all other activities. After Babu sir, our hope is on Joman sir to represent us in the Apex Council of ICAI. On behalf of ICAI Ernakulam branch, I extend a cordial welcome to you, CA Joman K. Jose sir, to this function. Past Central Council member, CA VC James sir, is with us today on this memorable day. Whenever we need a help, as I mentioned earlier, particularly when I ask any guidance or support from him, he is always there to support me and to branch also. VCM sir is very busy with the Lions Clubs International, and he will be leading the Lions district next year as its district governor. We are really happy to have your presence here today, sir. On behalf of Ernakulam branch, I extend a hearty welcome to you, CA VC James sir, to this function. I don't know how to thank all the stalwarts of this branch, the illustrious past chairmen who are physically present and virtually present for this meeting today. When I telephoned and invited them for this meeting, around 25 past chairmen, I personally telephoned them. Every one of them was ready to attend this meeting. I was just apprehensive about the present situation, the COVID situation, but every one of them was willing to attend. I still expect few more to come over here. Some others informed that they will be joining virtually. And it was also a pleasure to hear that. Anyway, on behalf of ICAI Ernakulam branch, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of the past chairmen present today, physically and virtually in this meeting. Let me take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of the friends and colleagues in profession present virtually and physically in this meeting today. I would also like to welcome my fellow colleagues in Managing Committee who are present here. Our Secretary, C. Jose KV, C. Ranjit Warrior, Vice Chairman, C. Deepa Varghese, Treasurer, C. Srinivasan PR, Immediate Past Chairman, C. Alan Joseph, Sikasa Chairman, and C. Salim Abdul Rashid, member to this meeting. Friends, we will have a session on ethics in profession by CA Ganesh Balakrishnan sir from Hyderabad after this inaugural session. In fact, he was magnanimous enough to join with us on a short notice. I take this opportunity to place on record our gratitude for his kind gesture. Once again, wishing you all a very happy branch formation day and a wonderful evening today and a great new month, December. I conclude. Thank you very much for the patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roy sir. Now may I request our chief guest, Honorable Chief Justice Koshy sir, for lighting the lamp and for the inaugural address. All the MC members kindly join. May I request our Vice Chairman, C. Ranjit Warrior, to introduce our chief guest for this evening.
No introduction. Very good evening to all of you. I'll quickly take a minute to introduce our esteemed chief guest for the evening, Honorable Justice J.B. Koshy sir. Koshy sir finished his BSc in the year 1966 from Mar Ivanios College, Trivandrum. And then in 1968, he finished his LLB from Government Law College, Ernakulam, and later in 1971, he finished his LLM. He enrolled as an advocate at the Kerala High Court in the year 1968. And in 71, he joined the leading law firm Men and Pai. And in 82, he was elevated as the partner of the firm. He has represented various public sector undertakings as an advocate for Cochin Board Trust, FACT, Central Bank of India, Indian Airlines, IOC, etc., etc. A lot of these various private sectors, such as Tata Tea Limited, Hindustan Liver, HML, AVT, etc. In 1996, he was elevated as the judge of Kerala High Court, and then in 2008 as the acting Chief Justice of the Kerala High Court, and then later promoted as the Chief Justice of Patna High Court in Bihar. He has more than 980 judgments that were passed during his tenure as the judge, and has disposed various cases including civil, criminal, constitutional, mercantile, service, labor, taxation, arbitration, etc. He was later appointed by the President of India as the chairman of the Appellate Tribunal for forfeited property under the Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Act and Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act in the year 2010. He was later given additional charge as the chairman of Appellate Tribunal under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act in 2010 May. Appointed as the chairperson of Kerala State Human Rights Commission and took charge in 2011 after resigning the post of chairmanship from the Appellate Tribunal for forfeited property with effect from 2/9/2011 and disposed of a lot of pending cases before his time of resignation or rather retirement in 2016. Other activities includes that he was the executive chairman of KELSA from 2006 to 2009. He was the chairman of Indian Law Institute Kerala chapter from 2007 onwards, and he has held several very prestigious roles under his term. He is also an active Lions member right from 1975 and was the president of the Lions Club of Cochin South East District 324E in the year 96. After retirement, he is busy with his legal consulting and arbitration. He is currently the executive independent director of Muthoot Finance Limited, patron of Gymkhana Club Ernakulam, member of Rajiv Gandhi Regional Sports Center, and a life member of YMCA. With these few words, may I take the opportunity to invite our esteemed chief guest for the evening. Over to you, sir.
First of all, greetings to all of you. Mr. Roy Varghese, Chartered Accountant, Chairman of the Ernakulam branch of the SIRC of Indian Chartered Accountants of India, past Chairman Sri Jomon K. George, past Central Council Member Sri V.C. James, Sri C.A. Joseph, Secretary Ernakulam branch, and today's main speaker, Sri C.A. Ganesh Balakrishnan, who is online taking a session on ethics in profession. First of all, I thank the chairman, Sri C. Roy Varghese, for inviting me for this function. It is always a pleasure to meet intelligent group of people, and chartered accountants are considered to be the most intelligent professional people. And I also understand that after the COVID-19 pandemic, this is the first physical meeting. Sri Roy Varghese was very close to me for many years. And in the Lions Club, he was a governor there. And YMCA, he was past president there. And a very nice gentleman, still looking very young. Sri V.C. James was also next Lands governor. Our YMCA president, director board members are here. I also thank Sri Ranjit Ware for introducing me and saying good words about me. It's a 54th formation day, and I'm very glad that we have got a very active secretary, Sri Jose KV, and past chairman, Sri Jomon K. George, and many past chairmen are present here despite the COVID-19 pandemic. I say good evening to all of you present in this meeting, direct physically as well as hearing me online. We are passing a very difficult period now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Apart from that, there are many natural disasters. Not only the people affected by COVID, we see that millions of people are on death row. And all over the world, whether it is developed country or undeveloped country, people are suffering. Those who are found negative are also having post-COVID symptoms. Recently, yesterday we heard that Dr. Babukutti died, even though he was found negative because of the subsequent complications got. And there is economic slowdown and recession. Despite the fact that our politicians may say that India is progressing and recovering, etc., every day recession is going very bad state. And apart from that, natural disasters are also increasing in this period. We are under fear that next cyclone like Koshy may come now by Thursday in Kerala also. These are all difficulties caused, but it is for us to find out methods to overcome all these difficulties. For that, we have to work out innovative methods. Apart from verifying the accounts, etc., chartered accountants being intelligent group should also find out ways to get over the situation, the economic situation as well as the general situation also. Because everybody can do their own contribution in the development of our country, irrespective of a political affiliation. We have to work for the development of our country because we are going to live in this country. And there is no country better than this for our living. I have visited many countries, and according to me, India is best. And we can. So, and Kerala, we have got a high literacy, unlike the North Indian states. Where I was in Bihar, there were people, daily wages working for 60 rupees, available for working for 60 rupees. Hereas we are having now minimum 750 per day is being demanded. The cost of living is increasing. But after the COVID, income has reduced. This is a very big problem now faced. And we are all faced with some sort of living standard. Even the auto rickshaw drivers were sending their children to good public schools. Now they cannot afford it. But to adjust all these things is also very difficult. The professionals are also suffering because there is no hearing. And the advocate profession, they are suffering very much. And the authorities are in a relaxed mood. So therefore, our combined effort is necessary to revive the economy, revive the situation. Nothing more I can speak about this in this world because all are my good friends. And I hope and wish that all of you can try and get over the situation. And you have to, because chartered accountants generally, silently help the community. They are doing a lot of charitable activities. And in Kerala, we see that in YMCA, Lions Club, Rotary Club, everything, leaders are chartered accountants now. That shows that socially they are being accepted as leaders. So that leadership quality we have to maintain. So that apart from the professional work, the social obligations are also carried out. I wish all of you all the best, and this 54-year branch of the Indian Chartered Accountants Association of India, all the best, and I hope that this branch will further survive, because with this already there are about 2,300 members, with more than 5,000 students are getting benefits from this. So you are doing a lot of work a lot of encouragement for the youngsters. I wish all of you all the best. Thank you very much. With these few words, I inaugurate the function.
Thank you very much, Koshy sir. Now it's a time for cake cutting. We will celebrate by cutting a cake on the occasion of 54th Formation Day celebration. Yes, all the MC members and all the past chairmen kindly come to the dais, join us. Now it's time to hear from our immediate past chairman and member SIRC of ICAI, our Joman sir.
Good evening to all of you. The dynamic chairman of the branch, my very dear friend, C. Roy Burgess. Our very special guest of this evening, Honorable Mr. Justice J.B. Koshy sir, who as a judge has upheld the highest standards of governance and probity during his many years of service in the judiciary, and his landmark judgments, as all of us know, is proof to the saying that justice is not just about differentiating between the right and the wrong. It is knowing the right and always upholding it every time, everywhere. That is what he has delivered, and his services have been recognized, and now serving as an independent director and part of the many service organizations. And we also made a clarion call to every one of us to stay relevant, stay focused, and to take leadership positions and become part of the social fabric of our city, the state, and even the nation. And we see James sir, very, very respected, past Central Council member, past chairman of SIRC. Last year you gave me the good fortune of serving the region as a chairman. Every time I go there, the photographs there, we have a lot of our leaders of Ernakulam branches produced. That's where I would put it. And sir was the chairman of the Ernakulam branch in 1995. Ever since I came to Cochin in 92 as a newly qualified chartered accountant, having done articleship in Chennai, I was new to Cochin. All the seniors, all of them, Ramendran sir, we were together in the managing committee, Babu sir, Joni sir, then Sen and of course Paulson sir, they left. So it has been a great experience working with James sir. Now he is on a different platform and a different format, going to serve as the District Governor of the Lions Club, very, very illustrious Secretary, another very dear friend, Jose, very illustrious past chairman. In absentia, Paulson sir, in the order of seniority. Both of them are directors of the YMCA, so Sen has also left. Then Ramendran sir, I was fortunate to be part of the managing committee. Then I think it's Suresh, TN Suresh. No, before that, Saji Matthew is there, Saji Matthew. Then TN Suresh and not Srini, the immediate past chairman who also brought the Best Branch Award on a national basis to Cochin, and other members of the managing committee, my dear colleagues. And I'm also happy to see a few of our students being part of this anniversary celebrations. I'm extremely delighted to stand before you on this 54th formation day of the Ernakulam branch of the SIRC of ICAI, which has made all of us what we are. And looking back, the long journey which the branch has taken, more than half a century, 54 years is a very long period in the life of any organization, whether it's a branch or an institution. And it is really exciting and rewarding to look back the years we have gone by. The branch has evolved right from the 67, so the branch and 54th formation day. My age is also, say I was born in 67, so the branch is also established. It is very special personally for me. Velipulle sir and VCG, Venugopaal sir is still very active. Koshy sir also would know. Venugopaal sir Govind was the founder secretary, and he also served as chairman from 70 to 74. And from that time till the time Roy Varghese has become the chairman, the branch has evolved in many ways than one. We start off as a very small branch. After some time, the land was secured by the association, very senior members like Balan Menon sir and all that. Then the building was constructed, infrastructure came into place. That is the time we always remember MC Joseph sir, past Central Council member. We always say that every brick of this building will echo the efforts of CMC Joseph. And we should have had a larger crowd ideally, but then we are constrained. We cannot force our seniors to come and be part of a physical meeting. This is an exercise, experiment I would say that Chairman Roy Varghese has done. And he had the good fortune of being very close to Justice Koshy sir, so that a short notice sir came, blessed us with gracious presence as well as the enriching words and inspiring words as we look into the future. So that is how we came on, and then academics started. We started taking classes. Then the whole situation changed. Technology came in a different way. So we had to start with the mandatory courses. I still remember when I was chairman, we had to set up the GMCS and IT lab. And somebody had done GMCS in Chennai. Srini came fresh from Chennai, and we had initially used to outsource to an agency called Prerana, which is still supporting us at SIRC. So Prerana did a few batches of GMCS, and then we started developing our own capabilities, developing our own muscles, and said that we can do it in-house. Many of our members are doing yeoman service in that area of orientation GMCS. Then the technology lab came. We took an adjacent building, and that is the way we have evolved over the years. While we can be really proud of and complacent of what has been accomplished in the last many years, 54 years to be precise, 53 years completed, stepping into the 54th year, I think it's really nice that we look back with a lot of complacence. But then what is more important is the future of the profession. I think all of us should focus more and do all that is possible to make sure that the profession, its membership, remains relevant for the nation. As sir, we always say, a chartered accountant acting as an auditor is a judge on financial information. And judge has to be absolutely impartial, independent, and have a closed eye on ill will or favor. That is what a chartered accountant acting as an auditor of. But then in the recent past, we have been seeing a lot of corporate failures, which associated problems of the audit function has also been reported. The profession is under a more stringent regulatory framework, under the lens than ever before. The NFR is set up under 132 of the Companies Act, which is an independent regulatory body which would regulate the auditing and accounting profession in India directly without recourse to the disciplinary mechanism of our institute. So with all that, one has to be extremely focused, upright, focused in whatever we are doing. Attestation that we do, the validation that we do is relied on by large number of multiplicity of users. If there's a huge amount of bad loans in our banking system, probably that all these exercises of financial prudence should have been stronger and stricter. When we look back, sometimes we feel. And also that the validations done by chartered accountants relied upon by the government. In 2017, July 1st, when Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji came to the Institute as a chief guest on our CA day, he made a statement. He gave a pat on the back and also a small knock on the head. I said that a CA's signature is more valuable than mine. Always say we take it as a compliment, but also I would also take it as a cautionary advice, where we as a profession has played a very pivotal role in the economic advancement of our country as the second largest, fastest growing economy in the world. That is where late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam coined that Chartered Accountants CA Institute, partners in nation building. So that was a big acknowledgement from none other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So the branch here has given us all that is required, and there's a framework, we have the infrastructure, and we have a dream about which in the next 2 minutes I'll say, a dream which we all, we would like to have that turn real. So the profession's relevance on a lot of things have to be there. Today we work in an environment like never before. We're doing our work, our work desk has changed. Many of our people are working from home. Remote accesses are required. Physical access to documents, the comfort we used to have, the touch and feel we used to have in a physical audits are gone. Therefore, leveraging on technology, we should look into the future, leverage substantially better more on technology. That's also important that the new ethical code, and I'm very happy, my compliments to Roy sir for two things. One is for holding this meeting physical. It was a long time that we all met together, stand on a stage and a podium like this. It's a very, very pleasant feeling. And the screen, as Justice Koshy sir was also saying, today also is a Zoom meeting. So we started getting sick of seeing people just on the screen. And imagine attending Rotary meeting 6 months on the screen. It's really, really difficult. Sometimes we tend not to attend that. So also that it's very important that we get together. What's happening is the social interaction which is getting reduced one way or the other, that situation has been worsened. It was Satya Nadella who famously said, when companies like TCS, employing 450,000 people across the globe, decided to go work from home mode, 75% of the people will work from home in the next 3 to 4 years. And Twitter said, this is perfectly fine with us, so we are going to have only work from home. So the brick and mortar model or the offices are now dying out. Kakinada will have its impact. Bangalore as a city, it would have, real estate would have beating all that. But Satya Nadella, none other than Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, very famously said, this cannot continue as a permanent feature. It will have an impact on mental health, which is actually happening. People are confined. Many of them want to go depression, melancholy moods and all that. So we'll have a mental health, social interaction, and he also said that we cannot burn the social capital which we developed over these years. Our seniors, our forefathers. We used to get together for very purposeful meetings, then some kind of a pleasant interactions, pleasantries, all that is part of a human life. We cannot be confined to a computer screen. So my first round of compliment is for holding this physical meeting, and that is where we are so much indebted, so much grateful to Justice Koshy sir for physically coming up here, where he could have taken an excuse of saying that I'm not traveling, I'm not interacting much, but then he came. And the second thing is that the aspect is that we had to have all the past time, all of them, we tried to call them and get so many of them on board. So that's really nice. So going forward, these are the things which we should do, and the ethical standards which have come into place from 1st July 2020. So it's quite befitting that as a logical continuation of what we are discussing or probably celebrating today. There's a session on ethics in profession, and we are really fortunate to have our very dear friend, patron for some of us, Sri Ganesh Balakrishnan, Senior Partner, Managing Partner of Deloitte, talking to us online from Hyderabad. So Ganesh ji, if you are seeing me, welcome in advance. You will be formally welcomed and introduced. Thank you so much for joining us. And ethics in profession, these are things which one has to be extremely careful about. And going back to the basics, the good practices, the good governance practices we have all lived with, that's very, very important, and we should continue to do that. And the dream which I was talking about is that we need substantially bigger infrastructure now. We have a infrastructure policy in place. We have been working on acquiring an ideal piece of land and constructing a state-of-the-art modern building, which would eventually become a great temple of learning, a center of excellence for members as well as students, where we can contain all our IT labs, our MCS courses. Working in a better environment and better ambience is also very important, and also helps branding the profession. So with that dream laid on the table, and with the hope that we will be able to realize that soon, and offering all my support for all the activities of the branch, and thanking everyone who are here. Some of us are not there with us, so every chairman I have worked with, I think right from Tamburan sir time, I know, I came at 92 but interacted with all of them. Chirayan sir is in Bangalore, and now of course George Lasser sir left us when he was vice chairman, he could not become. So thanking every one of you. And again, we had 50th Golden Jubilee celebration during Lucas's time, and 40th anniversary also we celebrated. That was Reggie George was the chairman at that point, and we brought out a booklet. VCG came and delivered a wonderful speech about the past and also how we should position and conduct ourselves in the future. And this is the 54th year. Extremely happy that we are making strides into the future as a focused group, individually and collectively. I wish the branch, its members, its students, the staff who are supporting us so very well, everyone, all the very best, and wish good health and safe, staying safe in the coming days. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Let us continue to work together relentlessly to hold our profession relevant into the future. Thank you very much. May God bless everyone.
Thank you, Jamon sir, for that wonderful address. Now may I request our past Central Council member, VC James sir, for his special address.
Chairman of Ernakulam branch, Chartered Accountant Roy Varghese, most respected Chief Guest of this evening, Honorable Chief Justice Mr. Jacob Benjamin Koshy, past branch chairman and SIR chairman CA Jomon K. George, my good friends and Secretary of the branch, CA Jose KV, managing committee members, past chairman of this branch, other members and friends. Anyway, we are having a most eminent and apt chief guest today evening to address us in this auspicious occasion. And he is famous not as the Justice of Patna or Ernakulam High Court, but as a good social worker, a good friend to anybody, and a person who can deal better than any other person. So he's so famous amongst all the people in Kerala and outside Kerala. Anyway, we are happy for that, sir. Thank you for your kind visit today evening to our institute. Friends, we are here to celebrate the 54th glorious birthday of our branch. In this connection, I would like to invite your attention to our first chairman, Velupillai. 1967, he was the first chairman of this branch. I don't want to give the details of all the chairmen, just one or two past chairmen who controlled this branch, or who made this branch, or I may say who constructed this building, or who are responsible for this branch to be existed in Ernakulam. That alone I want to invite your attention. You may be heard, Kerala Varma Tamburan, again, P. Sumar Menon of Menon and Menon. Yes, the photo of everybody is here. Yes, Prabharan of Varma and Varma, late C.B. Joseph, then late Abraham Joseph, all such eminent personalities, along with some, we know our senior members still supporting us. See, Venugopal C. Govind, M.C. Joseph, Jose Potakaran, and so on. So their untiring efforts brought this branch. Initially, this branch was not there, only a society formed. Later, society purchased the land, 10.3 cents of this land. The land was converted to branch later and constructed, and in 1987, this was inaugurated. So that is the story. And of course, I joined as a member of the institute in 1983. So I was there at that time, and the inauguration day and every time. And sometimes you may not believe that these members, our senior members whom I have told, along with the other members at that time, they suffered a lot to organize a branch like this, to construct a building like this, and also to organize so many other matters connected to our branch. So their effort, we have to remember all the efforts of our predecessors. So their magnanimity and their hard work we have to mention here. I have to tell that. So I thought that I have to tell all such things to you. And again, this glorious 54 years completed. Yes, I may say, glorious 54 years we have completed as far as Ernakulam branch is concerned. We are number one so far in everywhere. As far as the institute concerned, the building here, this is the first own building of a branch of our institute, all India wise. We know our institute is a big one, all India. So many branches, 163 now. But this is the first own building of a branch. And we are the first branch where the electronic election was had all India level. Electronic. We have elected our members every year now electronically, we know that. But the first time we are the one and we are the only one at that time. So we shown that. And again our branch, I mean always say the managing committee members along with the chairman, their vision, they always followed the vision of our institute. Our institute has a vision, you know that. We know that. And our chairman and the managing committee followed that. And because of that, we are there in the forefront amongst all other branches. We are number one branches in all activities for number of times. I don't want to say that. Not only the branch, the students section. We are number one, number of times. And we are the best amongst all the branches till now. No doubt that. And being a central government member past, having visited good number of places, having acquainted with good number of chartered accountants in various states, they know Ernakulam branch very well. They know the activities, how they are. They know how the students are doing very well. So we have to be proud of being a chartered accountant. More than that, we should be proud of being a member of Ernakulam branch, connected to Ernakulam branch. I may say like that. From my experience, I am talking. It's a fact, you know that. Friends, and again, at this time we have to think, having completed 54 years and all, what we have done to the society, to the members and to the students. Yes, we have done a lot. We have done a lot. We know that the stakeholders, the public, the members, everybody is looking at chartered accountants with expectations, the regulators including. So we are following that. We are following all such requirements, and our branch is doing almost all the required important classes for not only for the students but for chartered accountants also. I think immediately after this we are going to have a session also. So I am not talking now of our branch alone now as a whole chartered accountant. Amongst that, our branch, the glittering one, amongst this 163 I am talking, the importance of our branch. And again, by this time, our profession also facing so many challenges. Our present SIRC member and our expected glittering member in future, Joman K. George, mentioned so many things about our profession and the requirement of our profession and our future of our profession few minutes back. So that is the way we have to look into all such things and see that we are there in the forefront in the coming future also. That is our prime duty. And we have to provide our support to the students and the members and to the public also. And of course, the chairman, of course, in his talk specifically mentioned that in Lionism I am active and next year I am going to the governor. Yes, I am. Only one thing I have to tell. As the governor, when I am going to become the governor next year, there are 37 chartered accountants in our district. I know everybody, including our chairman. Chartered accountant Roy Varghese, our chairman is there. I am going to organize a training class for those who are required, low category, those who are financially weak. Accounting and taxation, accounting of in computerized environment, plus GST and income tax return, such small things. We will provide. We means we chartered accountants in the lands. We will provide training to them and see that they will be employed in this year. So a small thing, we chartered accountants. I want to highlight the importance of chartered accountants there also. That is my target. That is naturally, you can imagine, it is there in my blood. So we will do that also. Just I have mentioned since the chairman told I will be the governor. So we chartered accountants are planning to do that. That I mean, it is our duty to give back to the public also. And we are doing that. We have to do it more. Anyway, this 50th birthday of our branch, we are celebrating that. And we are proudly celebrating that the glorious past is over and better, glorious future is coming. And I have to congratulate not only the members, the predecessors, and more especially the managing committee members, not only the present, the past also. All of you are doing a lot, doing your maximum, contributing your maximum. That is why we are there in the forefront. Please do the needful. Please do it better. I know you will do it. All the best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James sir. Beloved Chief Guest, Koshy sir, Joman K. George sir, James sir, all the MC members, past chairman, all other professional, senior professionals and friends. A warm good evening to all of you. I'm very happy to stand before you on this 54th Formation Day celebration evening. We must say we are celebrating 53 years, past 53 years we have completed today. And as James has said, that was the glorious past chairman and leaders of our profession who are leading our branch for the last 53 years with, of course, with the support of all the MC members. And I have two more reasons to be here today as, in this Formation Day. Because the first one reason is the first chairman of our branch is, the founder chairman of our branch is the founder of my firm. I belong to Velupala & Company. I am the partner there, one of the partners there. So that is one reason. And another reason, when I joined Velupala & Company, I got the first assignment to go for an audit of an advocate firm. And then it was before March 31st, so I asked them why we go now. So that time they told me one of the partners in that firm is joining joining as a chief, as a justice to the our Kerala High Court. That was our chief guest for this evening, Benjamin Koshy sir. So that is the two reasons making me more happy on this day. So I thank on behalf of Ernakulam branch and all the members present here, I extend a sincere gratitude to our chief guest for this evening, Koshy sir, for coming here very early on this COVID pandemic time, for having our first physical meeting after this COVID started. So thank you very much. I request Ramendran sir to give a memento to our chief guest. Thank you, sir. So I also thank our Joman sir for all his support, guidance, and all advice. Whenever we ask, he is there. So wish you all the best in future also for our benefit of our Ernakulam branch. As he said, we are searching for a new building, new land for building a new premises. We will hear a good news soon that we are on the verge of that. Thank you very much, Joman sir, for that. And I also thank our past Central Council member, James sir, for all your guidance and coming today, joining us for this program for 54 Formation Day celebration. Thank you very much, sir. I thank all the managing committee members and all the past chairmen who are here present and also present online through our Zoom meeting. And I thank all other friends in profession and all other few students also here. Thank you very much. And once again, I thank all of you for making this 54 Formation Day a grand event. Thank you very much. And now we are going to the technical session on ethics in profession. Before that, I invite our SIRC chairman, CA Alan, to introduce our speaker, CA Ganesh Balakrishnan from Hyderabad.
Mr. Ganesh is a partner of Deloitte Haskins & Sells, based in Hyderabad. After his graduation from Osmania University, he completed his CA, his CWA, and his CPA. An expert on IFRS, he is a respected faculty and a speaker at various programs organized by ICAI and other forums. In the past, he has served on various committees of ICAI as a co-opted member, including the Auditing and Assurances Standards Board. A popular academician, he is now associated with B.R. Ambedkar College and Bhavans Vivekananda College. It has been an honor to introduce Ganesh sir. With these words, I invite Ganesh sir to commence his session. Thank you.
Hello.
Sorry, you can start.
All right, so very good evening to one and all. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak, and at the outset, let me thank the Ernakulam branch and my friends in Ernakulam branch when P.T. Joy reached out to me saying that he wanted something on a quick topic on ethics. I said, have you done it? I said, yes, I have done that. But then he said, can you do it tomorrow? And I think tomorrow was, it was yesterday. So I think it's a very important event. And in fact, when Roy reached out, the chairman reached out to me, he says, speak from your heart, and what is important is let the members know what is very important. And this is a very important occasion for the Ernakulam branch. And I think it's a great day. You know, when you talk about a formation, when you talk about the time and everyone takes pride being associated with Ernakulam branch, I think that's very, very essential for all of us as professionals. I have my friend C. Babu Abraham and John George. I think these people are wonderful people, great articulator, great support for Ernakulam branch, and I think they've done fantastic as Central Council and Regional Council members, and it's really very fortunate that I'm also associated in some way deliberating on professional I would say standards or any of those matters which are relevant in today's context. Just let me know if you're able to see. I'm going to share my screen, and if you're able to just confirm to me if you're able to see. Is my voice audible? Because I'm not able to get any sound. So just let me know if that's fine. Suppose somebody could unmute and say if it's fine, then I'll go ahead with that.
Sir, audible.
All right, so thank you very much. So I'm going to just talk about, this new code of ethics which has come in effective 1st of July 2020. I think I'm just going to touch upon the key aspects of it. Again, let me tell you one thing. We are all professionals. When we are all professionals, we are bounded by our own professional ethics. And I think that is what is very, very relevant. When we talk about ethics, ethics is just a way of life. And I think a way of life is a third person expects us to perform in the manner in which we are being positioned at. So I think what is important is not about whether it is okay, nobody looks at it, nobody thinks about it, nobody asks for it. As long as no one questions us, as long as nobody questions our practices, as long as you believe that everybody does it, so is we also can follow it. I think that is not what ethics is. Ethics itself by itself is a character. Each one of us carry, whether it's at home, whether it's at work. I think that is what is very, very important. I'm going to talk about this ethics. So far, the ethics have been applicable only for professional in practice, whereas the revised ethics is applicable even to those people who are in service. So this is a great shift, that it is not only people who have been involved in the, as a certified professional to carry out, or in a professional services firm, as a chartered accountant firm, also those people who are not in practice, and that is what assumes significant importance. Many of us have this both the audits and the tax. Now they brought in this wall of where that you cannot carry out certain activities which are in the nature of what is called as conflicting. So there are certain changes that are coming through as a process. So therefore, as a part of the recommendations to which each one of you take an oath on this formation day, demonstrate, there's so much of pride. Your past Central Council member talked about being the first building. Take the pride that you be the first branch which talks about ethics as a walk of life. And I think that is what is very, very essential for us. I think this is what we need. It is basically when somebody talks about ethics, it's basically nothing but your moral principles. That's all it is. That means, am I conducting, is my behavior appropriate? It is not about whether somebody is looking at it or not. For instance, a behavior can be easily related to, let's say I'm driving a vehicle and I'm standing in a traffic island with a red signal. Nobody is there, and no one is there. It's early in the morning. I just drive past whom I don't stop. Somebody might ask you, why didn't you stop? Because there is a red light. You might say, hey, listen, this is morning time. Nobody is there. Absolutely, they are wasting their energy, and therefore, I have got a right of way because I'm not hurting anybody. But that is not the behavior we're expecting in a professional services firm. The behavior is that if you are representing a client, if you're representing a stakeholder, you're expected to perform in the manner in which whether the stakeholder or the regulator expect you to. With so many changes that are coming through in laws, I think this becomes very, very essential. Going forward, as much as George talked about the TCS about 75% working from home, I think the order of the day is we should now follow the 75% rule of being right always. I would say 100% should be right, but 75% also we achieve it. I think we have achieved a great milestone. Now, when we talk about professional ethics, and I said because chartered accountants are basically a professional, and when you talk about, when the Prime Minister talks about building partners and building nation, when we talk about all of these, we have a responsibility. When we have a responsibility, we should also adhere to that. We should also expect and meet that expectations. And I think that behavior makes huge difference. Why do you need a code of ethics? I think somebody might say, why do you need a rule? Probably that you may not need a rule because you're all professionals, you're all chartered accountants, you're expected to perform. But sometimes it is that regulator who wants to get confidence that, or the public wants to get a confidence that you're complying to a particular code which prescribes that these are permissible, these are not permissible, and therefore Probably that is one way of looking at is enhancing the confidence of regulators and public. Somebody might ask, sir, you're all fine. We talk about ethics. We're finding so many issues, so many frauds, so many things are there. I think what is very important is you should look at ourselves and say, are you doing things ethically right? I think that is what the question you should ask, not the other way around that, so many people are doing, I can also do that. And I think that is where we need to drive that. It is we as professionals should drive that, only then you'll be in a position to command the respect and the confidence of the regulators and the public at large. And what's a code? It's something like, if you are a chartered accountant, you're bounded by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, by the ICAI rules. You're bounded by the, suppose you're auditing the listed companies, you're bounded by the SEBI rules. If you're auditing any of the government-related, whether the C&AG audits or the bank audits, you're governed by RBI or IRDA or electricity, whatever the case may be. There are certain code of conducts which are prescribed, for which we also write in our audit report that we comply to all ethical standards issued by the ICAI. We ourselves in all of the audit reports, if you see, we have been writing that we comply to all of these. And I think what is essential for us is, have we really complied to that? I think that's where the question everybody is asking. Now, you might say that, there are only few of them who are actually big people, they are doing it. The rest of the people are not there. They're all doing right. I think what's important here is, whether it's a big or a small, what is important is the impact of being a professional is actually damaged. So therefore, what is important is, we have to reassure, whether it is big, small, medium, whatever it is, we have to reassure back to that. And that's the reason why year after year, period after period, there are more regulators who are coming, who are becoming an oversight on the professionals. I think we have to get back to the laurels, and I always admire, all the old, the professionals, the chartered accountants from the age of pre-era 85 or 90, where they really stood for ethics. And I think we have to come back to that. We have to come back to that principle of where anyone, if you see as an auditor who has actually been there up to the prior to 90 period, every client used to stand and respect. Respect not for anything else. Respect for the knowledge, respect for the ethical principles that this person will not do anything wrong. And the fear that an auditor might question was in the minds of the client. Today, post the 90, post the liberalization, post the globalization, everything has become a business. And I think that is where we need to come back to that era of where reassure to the regulator, reassure to the public, reassure to the stakeholders that we stand on the principles which is called a code of conduct. You can call it whatever is a Lakshman Rekha, call whatever it is, that we abide by that. And I think that is what is very, very essential for all of us. Now it's very, very important. You can write anything on the board. You can give volumes and volumes and volumes on ethics. But I think what is important is, we should remember that we as a professional should always act ethically at all times. There is nothing called one as an exception, two as an exception. It is always at all times that we need to be ethically correct. And I think that is what will drive confidence back to the government, confidence back to the investor community. Now, if you were to look at ICAI, and ICAI has been in the forefront, and in fact, a lot of the Central Council members have contributed significantly into all of these, drafting the code of ethics. And I think this is very, very essential. Way back in 1960s, that's where it started, and there have been more than 12 revisions which has happened. But today, when we talk about it, the ICAI is now aligned with the international standards. And I think that is where the whole change shift has become. There is terminology changes. There is a description that have been brought in. There are clauses that have been included, the manner in which we will look at each of that as we go across. So as I mentioned, it's 1963 is the first time we had the commentary on ethical principles. It got revised 12 times before the 1st July 2020. Now, what is very, very important is, how do you, as a professional, and when we talk about a leader, we are talking about us as a professionals. Now, when you think that as a professional, that whatever you do is right, always right, even the associates, even the articles, even the managers, even the client, when they look at you, they will define you for your behavior. Ethical is a behavior, and a behavior which is put into practice, and I think that is what drives this particular curriculum. So let's look at the ISBA's in terms of, it's called an ISBA, it's called the International Ethics Standard Course for Accountants. In fact, based on this code, which got, the first edition, 11th edition, which happened in 2009 by the ICAI, aligned with the ISBA's Code of Ethics of 2005. Thereafter, there have been revisions in 2018, which now comes the 2020, which is our Code of Ethics. And I think that's the background. So therefore, when we talk about ethics, we also look at why are we looking at global? Somebody might ask, why can't we do it here? I think the answer is, to some extent yes, some extent no, but somebody might say, any case we have got accounting standards from IFRS, any case we have got a lot of these companies act from UK, why not we also have this ethical standards code from the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants? I think since we are all global village, so we don't have to make a distinction that your rule is different in India versus the rules. So earlier we had this Indian accounting standards, the accounting standards and the Ind AS standards. Now, why do you need to have a difference? If you have the same ethical principles, same accounting standards, same benchmarking, your financial statement that you are associated with or signed should be accepted globally without any challenge. And I think when we have accounting standard, we should also have this code of ethics that will be followed. Now, if you look at it, there are a lot of changes that has been brought in. Now, what are the things that have been brought in into this? Because of the revisions in the accounting standard, there was a necessity to change the code of ethics. Because there was the ISBA's revised code, there was a need for us to do it. Now, what does this code bring about? Now, you cannot say that we will continue with the old code without making changes. I think then it becomes challenging for us. Now, given that worldwide, where there has been a lot of noise, even within India, to break the audit firm into audit, which is purely audit firms, and those which are non-audit, like your tax and all that, is a non-audit firm. Now, the reason why this has become, and this is essential also, is what happens is when you are an auditor, there is a tendency to say that we will also do the tax work, we'll also do the tax representations. So therefore, there is a conflict which happens between the audit that you carry out in terms of the statutory audit which is required under the regulation versus the tax related matters which are not bounded by a regulation. So I think those are the things which will have a lot of challenges in terms of the conflicts. Not only this, there are sometimes you might do some sort of a due diligence, you might do some sort of an IT system work. There are various things which keeps coming through it, and you might say, hey, listen, in our audit report, we noted there is an internal control deficiency, there are things which have been identified, so therefore we may want your firm because you know it, so we want your firm to do it. I think time that when we talk about controls, when we talk about independence, these becomes very, very essential. So therefore, what is important is this code has brought in certain new definition, new concept, like the public interest entity concept, the taxation service to audit assessment, the threat to independence. I think this threat to independence was there as a part of SQC1. Today, this has become a part of the code of ethics. Whilst the SQC1 still continues, that is also going to undergo change and become ISQMM, which is in line with the international standards on quality monitoring. Similarly, even in India, you will have the SQC1 undergoing changes shortly in the coming years. But having said that, the changes that really is going to impact is the assessment for the threat to independence. And I think one of the aspects that came up is substantial fees coming from a client. Now you take the case of Ernakulam branch. on those people who are practicing in and around the Ernakulam. Now you will find that they will have one or two clients which may contribute about 40%, 50%, 60%. That is what is called a threat, and a threat for independence. Now, earlier it was about 40%, now they've undergone change. So we will look about what are these things. Another concept which has been brought in called the NOCLAR. NOCLAR is nothing but the non-compliance laws and regulations. This was not there before. We do have in the auditing standards in respect of all of these, which was so far not available as a part of the review. Now, going forward, the NOCLAR will be applicable for all the listed companies, and that is where it becomes essential. The other aspect that has been brought in is in terms of bringing what is called as a whistleblower, and I'll touch upon some of the fraudulent aspects that which is there. More stringent has been brought in the code relating to the auditor's rotation or the auditor's resignation. I think that is very, very essential. There are responsibilities for the incoming auditor which need to look at. Now, going forward in terms of the changes, what has been brought in is that the fees in respect of any single client exceeds 15% of the total fees. That means, let's say, a CA firm earns about 10 lakhs in a year, and one client contributes about 2 lakhs. And typically, because you are in a small, let's say you are in a Mofussil area or a Tier 2 city, there are no larger clients. So there are clients which are, one or two who really contribute to you. Now, what the new code of ethics says is that from a single client, you cannot have beyond 15% of the total fee. That means at no point in time you can have any amount exceeding 1,50,000. I think this is a great shift which has been brought in, and I think that is also because these type of challenges that one faces, because obviously there is an intimidation that happens. There is the client who will say, I am the guy who is paying you so much, nobody else paying you. So therefore these are certain things which will come through it. But this is not applicable if the gross fee of the firm does not exceed 5 lakhs and the PSU fees are not equal to the total fee. Now, this is a significant one. Whilst there are noises that have been raised and therefore certain aspects have been deferred, I think you cannot be deferring everything just because you make a law and say keep on deferring it. I think that becomes a challenge. But also, I would say that if it is not today, tomorrow it will be included. Same is the case. There are restrictions of providing taxation and management services. Now, if you see, this is where the challenges comes even with the institute, because the institutes have to partner all the SM practitioners before they come and agree to this. You cannot make a law and therefore come back and say these are deferred, because it's going to this is a low-hanging fruit which will keep continuing coming to you and say, hey, why have you not included this? At some point in time, this will be made mandatory, and I think this is where one has to look at it. You as a professional services firm, we as a professional services firm, everyone as a professional services firm need to be cognizant whether it is mandatory or not. At some point in time, this will come into it. Therefore, bring all those restrictions, make sure that this does not conflict going forward. So therefore, if, let's say, if your tax team is involved in preparing the computation of taxable income for the purpose of computing the tax, and therefore the client pays you service, that is not permissible, because there are called as management services. Now, another aspect of it which has been brought, not only the audit, they've also brought in concept for others assurance engagement. So therefore, there is an independence requirement for audit and review. There is a requirement for the other assurance engagements. And I think those are the things which will make huge difference. There is also a duty of accountants for the unintentional breach of independence standards. And I think this somebody has to think through, pause, understand. For instance, you are the auditor of a company or a bank, because these are, let's say, you're auditor of a bank. Some of your relative who is dependent who went and took a loan, an education loan from that bank. Now the question then comes up, has this breached independence? And if you're the statutory auditor of the bank and the person is independent, it falls under the definition. Therefore, it becomes an unintentional breach. And if unknowingly, let's say it has come through, or you've taken a loan and then you've got the bank audit, then you've not checked through this. There is a responsibility on account of the accountant. There is a beautiful definition which has been there. It talks about employment, it talks about various other aspects of which we'll talk about. There is also clarity for responsible for compliance of firms, networks, for individuals. If you were to see in India, there are about more than 170 firms, Indian firms, which have got associations or networks. Not necessarily the big fours which you have, but there are also about 170 of them which have got networks. And there has been a lot of clarity and responsibility brought in for compliance. Another introduction of the concept called the professional accountant has been introduced. And this professional accountant has been definition which has been borrowed from the ISPA's code. It is not there in the India, but there's nothing called a professional accountant. He's a chartered accountant or a chief financial officer. There's nothing called a professional accountant. But this concept you will keep on hearing as we go forward in this code of ethics. So let's look at what are the differences between the code of ethics of 2009 versus 2019. Now, as I said, the key important thing which has brought in is a non-compliance of laws and regulations. Now, there was no such provision in the old code of ethics of 2009, but the new provision brings in if there are non-compliances, and which is very, very critical. So what is the, for instance, what is the example for a non-compliance? There is a pollution certificate that has to be received. Or there should be a, let's say you are working in an SEZ, you need to comply to that law. Now, assuming that the client that you are auditing does not comply to all of this. Now, this is something which has to be brought in, and this has been covered under the Code of Ethics. It is not covered earlier, there was no such provision. But today, knowingly you cannot. Or take another example which you said. You have got the hypothecation of stocks, for going to any working capital loan, you've got the hypothecation of stocks and fixed assets. You know as an auditor that, the stock statements that are given to the bank may not necessarily be audited by them. And if you make an analysis that a particular stock statement has been given the same information to more than one bank and the loans have been drawn against to each of them, and if you believe that they have not complied to it, it is your responsibility to raise this aspect of it, and therefore this becomes a responsibility. Now, this has right now been put only for the listed companies, but my guess is this next couple of years, one more challenge, you will have all of these becoming mandatory. The other aspect of it which has been brought in is the restrictions on taxation service to audit clients. Now, taxation services, typically if you're a statutory auditor, you also do a tax audit or a tax assistance and all of this. Now, they have identified which are called as the advocacy threat or a self-review threat. Tax return preparation based upon the numbers is not an issue. But tax calculation, which I said, for the purpose of preparing accounting entries, because the client will come back and say, I don't have any information, I don't have any knowledge. Why don't you ask your tax team to do it? I will pay money. That is a problem. Tax planning and tax assistance in resolving disputes. There are so many cases in, let's say, in department, it is in appeals, it is in various levels. All of these will come under self-review threat. And this is the biggest challenge because majority of the professional services firms, the chartered accountant firms in India have got audit and tax as a part of it. Now, when this change is coming, and again, let me tell you why this is important. Government is coming through a different route of segregating audit firm to tax. Code of ethics says you cannot be doing this tax. And I think when the government makes a rule, you might have deferred this. When the government makes a rule, then you may have to break it between an audit firm and a tax firm. So therefore, tomorrow what you will have professionals who are only doing audits, or there are only professionals who do tax. I think probably the charm in audit is gone. So probably we might say, why take a risk when the penalties are huge? Let's go and do only the tax. And I think that's where the issues comes to it. Now let's take the case of tax also. If there are non-compliance to the tax laws, whether it is your indirect tax or a direct tax, whether it is a GST or a direct tax, I think any non-compliance also would have a challenge. We talked about this fees, that restriction fees is about 15%. Earlier it was 40%, now they've reduced to 15%. Now, the other aspect of it, duty of accountant in respect of unintentional breach, there are, once a breach is identified, the accountant, professional accountant, which has been defined, should take necessarily steps to inform the authorities. There are various steps that have been brought in Part A and Part B. The independence requirements was there as a part of the assurance engagements. Now there are certain things for audit is separate and other insurance is completely separate. And there is a separate code standard which has been brought in as called the International Independence Standards. There have been some changes in the advertisement guidelines and the Council General guidelines that member firms' names allowed in TV, movie credits, not provided, not mentioned differently, interviews should be factual. These are some of the things which have been brought in. Now, interestingly, this also brings in to address a lot of these chartered accountants who have got, who also participate in many of, as an educator or teaching some of the CA students. There are restrictions that have been brought in. I'll talk about that as we go on. There is no medicine to deal with ethical dilemmas at work. You cannot have a medicine. And I think it's very, very important. The medicine is your own self. The medicine is your moral principles that should be driving it. So let's look at some of the key aspects of it. One of the key aspects, again, these volumes. Now, if you look at ethics, there are about 3 volumes. Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. Volume 3 is more about the disciplinary cases. I'm just going to focus on key aspects of Volume 1 and Volume 2. The new definition that has been brought in is the definition of other audit partner. Now, there was, you had an engagement partner which was being defined. There is an engagement quality control review partner which has been defined. There is no audit partner that has not been defined. So therefore, now they have brought in the definition of other audit partners. Now, why these are essentials? These are essentials because, let's say, based upon the SQC1, the Standards on Quality Control 1, a particular partner should rotate off after a period of 7 years. So you had a senior partner who was involved in that engagement. Now he is rotated off. So no longer is called the engagement partner. You appoint a junior partner. But the senior partner still continues to be the other audit partner. He says, don't worry, I'm still there, I will take care. To bridge that aspect of it, for circumventing it, they brought in this concept of other audit partners. And I think that is where this becomes very, very important. Now, the Code of Ethics of 2019 defines public interest entity. And I think public interest entity was not defined in the Code of Ethics. All public interest entity was only defined under the Companies Act or any other act that was issued by a regulator. Today it talks about a listed entity, defines by regulations, audit is required by legislations, banks, insurance companies, all of these gets covered under this one. ISBA I talked to you about the professional accountant. I think this is a new name that has been brought in as professional accountant. Now, professional accountant is again, there are 2 things which one has to understand. Professional accountant in practice, professional accountant service, these are things which you need to understand much, much more clearly. So the Code of Ethics are divided into 3 volumes, as I mentioned earlier. The principles based on ISBA, the domestic provisions governing the members, the Volume 2 and the Volume 3 is the discipline cases decided so far. These are all factuals. But what is important is the Volume 1 and some changes that have been brought in Volume 2. Volume 2, to larger extent, there are only marginal changes, but the bigger changes have been brought in Volume 1. So in a Volume 1, when you look at it, there are various glossaries which has been included, including in each of the paragraphs where sections have been easily been identified and each of the sections have been made and respective related matters are included. So the part 1 is applicable to all the professional accountants. That means if you are a professional accountant, it is applicable. So you're breaking down the volume 1 into part 1, part 2 and part 3. Part 1 is to all the accountants, that means the chartered accountants in practice. The part 1 is to all, irrespective whether it is in business or in practice. Part 2 is only for the people in business. Part 3 is those people are in public practice. So therefore, one which is applicable to all, one which are applicable only to those people who are in business, the one which are applicable to those in practice. So this is the categorization that has been brought in. So when you look at the sections from 100 to 199, fundamentally brings about all of these. Now again, if you look at it, if you have gone through the SQC1, it talks about the integrity, objectivity, professional competence, confidentiality, professional behavior. If you've gone through SQC1, all of these are being included in this. So therefore, if you have done if you're following SQC1, that means you have complied to certain principles which are defined under section 100. So you look at integrity, being straightforward and honest, objectivity, not to compromise, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, do not share any information or a relationship. Now, what are the things which are very, very important? So at times there are certain circumstances which might create a threat. So when it creates a threat, the professional accountant, which is in this case, let's say, a chartered accountant in practice or business, should exercise professional judgment, should remain alert, should be reasonable and inform the third party. So therefore, they're all talking about not only that you exercise judgment, but let's say the third party comes and inspects this, they are well informed as that you pass through the test of that. So therefore, a test that needs to be performed in respect of these frameworks have to be completed. So therefore, it is very, very important. Earlier, there was no questions that were included as a part of the concept framework. Today, you are including all of that. So when you talk about self-interest threat, right? When you talk about self-interest threat, is like, let's say you're the auditor of a company, and then you're trading with shares or borrowed some money. There are called the financial and other interest. Or somebody might say, hey, listen, you're auditing my real estate company. I will give you a house at 40% discount, but I want you my financial statements to combine. So therefore, there is a self-interest threat which can come through it. Also, there is a self-review threat which comes through it. A self-review threat is that, whatever the management gives to you, you believe they have done appropriately, whether it's a provision for doubtful debts or an impairment of assets. Those are the things which becomes, you believe that whatever the judgment, till last year nothing has happened, this year also nothing will happen. So therefore the self-review threat becomes important. The advocacy threat. Now the advocacy threat is, let's say you go and say, promote your own client. Let's say you've got a client which is into, let's say education. So you say, go and tell everybody that I have a client, please look at it. Or let's say it's in insurance. You go and tell everybody, all the other clients, why don't you buy, the insurance policy from these things? So this advocacy threat becomes important. The familiarity threat. And the familiarity threat is again a long association with larger clients. In India, unfortunately, we have not been able to make a segregation relating to that. Because if you see, majority of the firms have got this association for a long period of time. I think whilst the Companies Act do bring in the changes, but I think what is important is in respect of the familiarity threat, you need to reduce dependence on any of this kind. And the next one is the intimidation threat. The intimidation threat is quite common. When we say that, he's a big man, right? When you go to a client, when you go to a promoter, he says that there's a big man, he's a politician, he's this, he's got influential, he can do anything. The intimidation threat is what becomes very, very important. I think these are the things that we know. We say, okay, fine, nothing will happen to us. I think what really happens is that when the going is good, nobody touches you. When the going is tough, everybody points finger at you and say, hey, you know, what you've done is not right. And I think this is where we need to start thinking right from the beginning. And I think these are the threats that one has to address. Evaluating threats, every threat you need to evaluate at an acceptable level. Again, you cannot be say that, you know, acceptable level is something that others are doing, so therefore I'm doing. No, that is not an acceptable level. If you believe that if you had carried out processes in the manner in which you as a professional would have carried out, and you would have come to the same conclusion, probably that is what is called an acceptable level. And I think these are some, when in doubt, when you think that, you know, maybe I'm not doing right, you consult somebody with a professional to make sure these safeguards are done. So what are important things? Independence of professional accountants, independent statins, professional skepticism, compliance with fundamental principles. These are some of the things which have been brought in. Now, this framework, which was not there before, is the key requirements for professional accountants in service. Now, this is where you have to be very, very careful. While the Institute has come back with so many changes that in respect of you know, the professional practice, that even if you have not applied for membership in 3 years, your name will be taken, you can't be using as chartered accountant. Now, this becomes very, very important. When you are in practice, this becomes also very, very important. So, applying the conceptual framework, you still need to apply to it. You still need to look at the threats to compliance. You still should not have conflict of interest. You should not pass on information which will be misleading. You should be acting with sufficient. Just imagine, you are a CFO of a company, you are a chartered accountant, you are handling all of this. You can't do any of these things. A conflict of interest to judgment includes like giving my business to any of my relatives or any of that matters, or taking any discounts from this, from within the businesses. So I think these are some of the things one needs to look at it. And I think there is a lot of deliberations has to go through, a lot of education has to go through the professional accountants in service. Financial interest compensation linked should not manipulate. Now, this is where it becomes very, very dangerous, because so far there has been no rule for a CFO if he has committed any crime. Now, by manipulating, let's say for instance, if he has manipulated any of the inventory records, if he has manipulated any of the information to source first so that he can get the funding, I think that is where it becomes very, very difficult. So we have to be very, very clear in respect of these aspects of it. Responding to the nuclear, again I'll talk about which are the things which is there. Pressure to breach the fundamental principles, make sure these are things. Inducement to gifts and hospitality. And I think this again assumes significant. Now you need to identify what is the behavior of a gift. You know, maybe treating somebody, or let's say there is a marriage in the family of the promoter in which you ordered. The promoter says, don't worry sir, you bring all your family, everything is to my account. And he debits that expenditure as is business expenditure. You are auditing it. You've enjoyed all his benefits. You've done all of this. Now from a PA in service, for the CFO it's a problem, and also for the chartered accountant it's a problem. So think through these aspects of it. Pressure to breach the fundamental principles. Many of the CEOs, the promoters will always come back to the CFO and say, do something so that I can get the funds. Do something where I can get the results. Make sure there is only profit. I think these are some things which are very, very difficult, which was not there before, has been brought in. Now the no-clear is nothing but the non-compliance with the laws and regulations. Now, any act of omission or commission committed by a client or an employer should be prima facie, should be brought in. Now, I think this becomes very, very important. Today, you just see there was let's say a fire accident somewhere. So immediately everybody comes back and says there was no pollution certificate, they did not do it. Or let's say there was some accident in the factory and therefore a workman's compensation is not. Suddenly somebody might say they have not got any permission. Same is the case with the pollution control board, effluent treatment, something went wrong. Now all of these come through it. Now when everything comes through, now the recent one which is a listed company which happened was, the CFO involved in what is called as insider trading. Now the question then comes up, which year does it relate? It does not relate to current year. It relates to earlier period. I think those are the things that one has to look at it from that perspective. And I think this is something, the new provision on non-compliance, these were there as a part of the auditing standards. But now they're brought as a part of the ethical standard. And ethical standard, non-compliance to this becomes, being non-compliance to ethical standards becomes a challenge. Applicability right now is applicable to audit engagements, listed companies, and applicable to employees of listed entities. So therefore, all this non-compliance. So therefore, when you are talking to your client, you need to tell them that these are the things which are very, very essential. And I think these are very comprehensively written. Now, examples of laws of frauds, corruption, bribery, laundering, terrorist financing, proceeds of crime, securities master trading. So these are the examples that have been already talked about. Now, certain things are inconsequential. So let's say there is something which comes up, somebody raises a complaint, and something which is not related to the client, is related to the promoters, may be excluded from a non-clerk. But anything which is related to it, the only person who can decide in respect of any of the activity, trading activities, or any of the shares related matters would be in respect of SEBI. So therefore, when you are talking about any such issues, whether it is insider trading or if pledging of shares which are not in compliance, you are responsible to report it to SEBI. Right now, they have deferred it because a lot of noises have been raised, but I think going forward, these things would be there. What are the key requirements for the PAs in service? Other things, apart from the conceptual framework, conflicts of interest, professional appointment, that means you need to comply with the KIC norms of ICAI, communicate with the previous PAs, proposed PAs, all of these which comes very, very important. Now, just look at these. These were there beforehand, but now these have become as a part of the PAs in public practice. So these are now become in writing, which were there included as a part of SQC, which were lying some part of ethics, but now clearly brought in as a part of the ethics code of conduct of 2019. So I think this is where you need to be very, very clear. Because communicating with the previous professional accountant, that means we say erstwhile auditor, communication with the earlier auditor. Now, these are certain things which has been brought in, which is of very, very important things for each one of us. Now, one of the things which the client used to use is that they used to always get an opinion. So let's say there is an accounting where there is a dispute by the chartered accountant who is a statutory auditor. Now, what has happened really is that many of the CA firms says, okay, you go and get an opinion from this firm. You know, they are very good in accounting, they can give. Now, you can no longer can give any such opinion. I think because what happens is, it creates a threat to those persons who are issuing an opinion. I think that is what is very, very important. Contingent fees, there are certain exceptions which cannot be done. Again, this is covered from the Code of Ethics. Custodian of client assets, you should not hold any asset or any books which will threaten your compliance. So there are certain things which have been brought. Gift I've already talked about. So what are the other requirements is independence. Independence is again been brought in. Again, when they talk about independence, it is more in the appearance, more in the manner in which you deal with each of the transactions. So I think that is very, very essential. Also talk about in the fees, one of the things which I would also urge each one of you as professionals, I think please do not charge when the compliances are going up. Why are you charging fees which are much, much lower? Charge fees which are appropriate, which compensates for the services. Do not charge fees something because you're getting a business. And I think these are some things which are very, very essential. The other aspect of it which has been brought in practice is that you cannot force a key audit partner to go and sell non-assurance services. In other words, if you're an auditor, you're signing audit, you cannot force somebody and say, go and sell tax audit service works, or go and sell IT work, go and sell any other consulting work. So I think these are the things with the policies have to be brought into it. Acceptance of gifts also will again be repeated because it will be repeated time and again because that's one in business, one in practice, and one in general. Financial interest, again, holding a financial interest in audit client is not permissible. It is applicable to the, also not only to you. Suppose you are a member of a network firm, even they should not hold it. Even your audit team members should not audit. That means there is more comprehensive review which is required as a part of the process. Loans and guarantees, again it is no, answer is completely no, while the standard by the Companies Act requires it, but now the Code of Ethics has been also been brought in, which talks about no loans, no guarantees, no brokerage loans, all of these are not. No business relationship, you cannot have a business relationship. You cannot have a family and personal relationship. Imagine the comprehensive things that have been brought in even in for service, not only for practice, they've also brought in for services. Recent service with an audit client, if any audit member has recently served as director office, you cannot go and join the companies, and therefore that becomes a challenge. So there are certain restrictions. As a partner, if you've been a partner and suddenly go and join as a director, there are restrictions, you cannot be serving. There is a cool-off period that is required. You cannot have employment with audit clients. The employment relationship should not be there. That means you cannot be, as a CFO, go and tell, okay, I have got my wife, I've got my niece, or I've got somebody. Can you take him in your audit function? Can you take him in tax and training? So these are the things which are not permissible. So therefore, from a CFO side, also you need to look at it. So far, we have only looked at from an auditor's side. Now we are looking from a PA in service. That means from a CFO side, you cannot do it. So just imagine the expansion of the roles that has been brought in. Temporary personal assignments is not allowed. You cannot be deputing somebody as a loan to an audit client. You cannot say just to gain experience, you cannot be doing it. So these are some of the things which have been brought in. Other aspect of it is long association of personnel with an audit client. They brought in very, very important. One of the things which they brought in, apart from 7 years, earlier it was 2 years schooling period. Now if you're an engagement partner, you cannot come back until the next 5 years. That means after 12 years, that means 7 plus 5, only the 13th year you can come back as an engagement partner. That means if you've audited, let's say, an XY company for 7 years, you cannot serve that for next 5 years. You cannot serve as a key audit partner, you cannot serve as an engagement partner. You cannot be associated with it. Let's say if you are an EQCR for 7 years, a cooling period of 3 years. If you are a key audit partner for 7 years, then 2 years. And if you are both, then it's the cumulative of that which you need to look at. So therefore, they brought in very, very specific part of it in respect of such PAs in service and PAs in practice. Auditors rotations again is in compliance with this. EPF scheme is again re-emphasized that same auditor cannot be appointed for 2 years. Maximum that he can be appointed as an auditor of a PF trust or this thing is only 2 in a block of 6. That means you will have year 1 or year 3. Afterwards, he cannot be an auditor. So therefore, again, this is to make sure that these issues have been brought in. Provisions for non-assurance of audit client, again these have been brought in as a part of the discussions. Accounting, book services not allowed, administrative services are not allowed, valuation services are not allowed, taxation service to audit clients are not allowed, but right now it is deferred, but it is not allowed, might create a self-advocacy. So these are some of the things. In audit service anyway, statutory audit can't do, information tax he cannot be provide. Litigation services, you cannot provide. Legal services, you cannot provide. Recruitment services, again a recruitment service you may not be able to provide because you're appointing somebody. So there are so many changes that have been brought in which are much more in detail. I'm not going through, given this, this is a very important occasion for each one of you. I will just run through it because I'm already past 7:10. I'll take a couple of minutes and before I can open it for question and answers, because I'll tell you what, this session is not, you know many of these things, but I'm only trying to make a perspective as to what has changed, what is the awareness that each one of us has to take, what are the responsibilities that we need to bring in. Just imagine, we are talking about management responsibilities for an audit client, and so much of changes that have been brought in. So these are some things which one has to look at it. Reports on special purpose financial statement should include restrictions and use of distributions, which was not there before. It has been brought in as a part of the process. Breach of independence, mechanism self-corrections, mentions taken in the independence department. There are various things which have been brought in, where to whom you should report, when do you report to ICAI, all of these are required. Independence for assurance engagements, other than audit, they've again applied. No fees again, they brought in gifts and hospitalities, they brought in financial interest. Just imagine, audit, not only audit, they also brought in assurance. Assurance is what? You could do, let's say, a consulting service, you can do an accounting advisory services, or you can do, let's say, a certification for a specific purpose audits. There are so many things that you will do. All of these has also been brought in as a part for the other assurance engagements. The domestic laws I'm not going through, but just to let you know that you need to comply with standards on auditing, standards on engagement, assurance related party, SQC1, all of these you need to do it. There have been certain changes that have been brought in. I'll talk to you about it. You have to, members should use only CA. You cannot, directors office clubs not to use in the set position their visiting cards. Suppose if you are office bearers of this, you can't be using all of that. So there are various things that have been brought in. Again, disabilities, removal from registers, these are some things. Falsely claiming to be a member. Now, another important aspect is that you cannot, if you are not a chartered accountant, you cannot be signing or certifying any accounts. I think that's a significant change that has been brought in this ethics. No company, that means you cannot have a company which should be practicing it as an LLP. So I think that is because LLP is only as a partner, but not as a company can be practicing it. Unqualified persons cannot sign. So therefore, there's a penalty, there's a conviction, and all of this. Maintenance of branch, you should identify in charge for every branch. Even within city, you could have multiple branches. You need to identify all of this. Professional misconduct, there are schedules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which have been brought in, that again the fees you cannot share, and only under certain restrictions you can do it. There is also one important aspect that has been brought in, is in respect of this, there is a resignation by an auditor. I think what has been brought in is that the member, or there is a removal of a chartered accountant as an auditor. The chartered accountant has to write to the institute. I think this is a new thing that has been brought in, which was not there before. You have to write in, and I think the professional accountant or the chartered accountant who is coming as the next auditor should make sure that he takes care of all of this information before he accepts that information. So I think these are some things which have been brought in as a part of the process. Again, publications of books and articles, there are issues that you need to prefix CA. Those are the things only which is allowed. There are again sponsoring events. Again, it is only for the CA, which has to be prefixed is permitted. Advertisement of teaching cannot exceed 25 hours in a week. Cannot advertise teaching coaching activities. May have to put a board outside the coaching center with name, subjects taught. There are so many things that have been brought in. Again, these are again addressing those issues coming out of the teaching academy, which are coming through all of this. Television and movie credits, again, there are changes that have been brought in. Just make sure that, it should not result in canvassing and all of that. Talk about which are factual, which are being done. I'm not going through it. Again, writing letters or press permitted to use CA descriptions, size, networking, all of that, which everything is done. Use of logo is not permitted. Strictly no, you cannot be using a logo, whether it's a network firm or other, you cannot be using in all of that. So you need to comply with CA logos, these things. Now these are some of the things which are very, very important. Now accept, now this is where I want to spend a couple of minutes before I hand over it back. Accepts a position as an audit previously held by another chartered accountant, he should give it in writing. What are the things? Communications required for all types of audits. Grounds for non-acceptance of audit. Non-payment of undisputed fee by the auditee. Fees pending due to non-availability of the previous audit. Course of action in case of change of audit. Duty of retiring auditor to respond with correct information. Incoming auditor can act after watching with reasonable time of review. Positive reply of delivery required. Certificate of course not a conclusive or proof of communications. Premises lot, you should again now the new guidances you can send it through an email. There are so many things that have been brought in for those people where there is a change of owner. I think this becomes very, very essential. So for all the professionals, look at this healthy practice, look at the processes, how the appointments are being done. So therefore, there is this notices which goes through as a part of that. Unjustified removal of auditors. When an auditor resigns or does not offer himself, or he shall send a communication into the board with a copy to the ICAI. Incoming auditor before accident shall get a copy of the board representation. When an auditor, though willingly for him, has not been reappointed, shall file with the ICAI. Just imagine, this is the protective way of the chartered accountant. I think it's a very good move, because especially for whenever there is a change of the auditors, I think without a reasonable basis, these are not should be allowed. I think these are something which are very, very critical. These are some of the things that what are granted. I'm not getting into this, but just to sum it up in terms of it, the changes that have been brought in, there are significant changes that are there. What is important for each one of us is that when we talk about ethics, I think if we follow anything appropriately in the manner which we are designed to be, I think that matters significant. So some of the things which I would want you to do, I mean, especially on this very important day, and it's a very important day because when it's the 54th year of the formation, I think take an oath, that take a thing that, you be the first branch which will exhibit professionally as ethically right, whether in the manner, in letter or in spirit. I think the manner in which you deal with, let us start with the Ernakulam branch on this basis of today being the December 1st, saying that we will do things right and for the betterment of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now, for question and answers, participants, if you have any questions, you can ask. You can ask to Sri Ganesha. Sir, I think there is. Ganesh sir, it was a fantastic session on Code of Ethics. You covered almost all the latest changes or revision happened in Code of Ethics, and you were very much deliberating on key changes. Of course, this will be very useful for our CA fraternity here. As you said, on the 54th formation day, we are celebrating here in Ernakulam branch. We are very happy to hear you on this ethics in our profession. Of course, we all, the entire members of Ernakulam branch, can say that confidently we will be comply with the provision ethics in our, especially the latest Code of Ethics. Of course, we will have more years of glorious years. So thank you very much, sir. On behalf of the Ernakulam branch of SIRC of ICAI, I extend a sincere gratitude to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I take it.
And I also thank all the participants who joined here physically as well as online on this program of our celebration of 54th Formation Day celebration as well as this technical session. Thank you very much.